So how are we doing today? Oh, early. I know. Okay. We have a small group today. That's fine. A couple of you told me a couple of people told me they weren't feeling well, so they able to make it today. So again, taking attendance here. Not sure how much weight I'm going to give this at the end of the semester. We'll see. Rashawn. Okay. Emma said she's out. Caden. Okay. How about Brianna? I said that already. Okay. Erin. Shira. Okay. Destiny. Christina. I have the right section here, right? Anthony. There we go. Malik. Jackson. Nicholas. Ellie. And Jason. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know it's tough, but I do want people here. So just so you know, I appreciate you guys being here. So it's my whole point of being here and having in person. Otherwise, we just go all workshop. Right? So anyway, okay. Just to kind of say this right off the bat, you know, I understand the confusion, by the way. I guess some people have confusion about what section are we? I totally understand that, okay. This is a little bit new. This is new for me too. Just to give y'all some lame excuse. But you know, when I give out assignments or when I give out a message or something, it will be addressed to your group specifically and their group specifically. Okay. Now you're going to look at these assignments and say, they're the same damn thing. Why doesn't he just write the both of us? Well, I actually thought that might create more confusion. So, I want to actually treat each section as its own class. You're just dealing with the same material. Okay? All right. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually kind of take the next step down the road of digital media and what it's all about. Okay, what to look for. And I know today, I said today is the deadline for the ungraded profile, self-profile assignments. Just want to kind of give you an idea like what to look for here. And this is actually really just intended to, again, kind of give me an idea like where everybody's at. And Brianna's not here today, but you know, one thing, I know this is like a little bit tough to identify and that sort of thing, but and some people have had a little struggle a little bit with this assignment, which is another reason why I don't grade it, because they say like write a story about yourself, what? You know, but yeah, actually that's basically what I was asking you to do, was do something a little kind of, you know, weird. And that is basically write a story that basically write a story that basically like as though you're interviewing yourself and focusing on what's unique. Okay. A couple of style points here, by the way. Make sure you stick with AP style, like things like identify yourself, identify the person you're interviewing, full name first, and then later references its last name. Okay. So one thing I want to really try to avoid here, okay, and again, I know you got probably different, you know, I'm going to go on about writing for media, but you probably got different types of teaching and writing for media. But, you know, the idea here is that you really need to kind of keep these paragraphs succinct and to the point. You really need to keep your themes succinct and to the point, okay? So first thing I should be reading is, when I'm reading about a story about somebody, not something that's like pretty obvious, okay, or something that's just so common, you know. If that means the fact that she's from Patterson, New Jersey, she's studying journalism, you know, doesn't make me want to read the story. It's not what that is. I'm just saying, okay. You know, I've had people say, like, there's nothing interesting about it. Well, give it a shot. There's probably something, okay. You know, again, it doesn't have to be New York Times level, okay, but you know, again, it could be something, again, that could be even worthy of just like a Facebook post or something, okay? So actually right here, I thought this was a little interesting that she, you know, came from, I guess, from both Dominican Republic and Colombia. And okay, so why is that interesting? Well, how many people here in this class have come from either one of these countries? Right, well, that's very interesting to know. You want to know, like, how you got from one culture to another, you know, maybe how difficult that's been, you know, given everything that's happened. I know it was 2002, but or whatever it was, but you know, given everything that's been happening the last few years in terms of immigration, you know, it's not been easy for a lot of people who are immigrants to come. So maybe I would want to know more about that. And I know maybe it happened a long time ago, okay? But I'd like to know if that has any kind of impact, you know? We've had people write stories about people in class where maybe they actually moved, like I said, maybe they moved like almost 20 years ago. But, you know, they were like 2 or 3 years old at the time, you know? But, you know, what's interesting is maybe like now they're doing things like I hear about people joining clubs, kind of like, I guess you could say, you know, kind of immerse themselves in the culture they were raised. You know, they want to know more about it. They want to take pride in it, you know, that sort of thing. So it's something that kind of is still lasting to this day. It still has an impact on them to this day. So that's what I want to find out in the stories. Maybe they get involved in things like immigrants' rights activities, groups, that sort of thing. Okay, so and then what you do is actually from that, you know, if I were to choose that as a topic, you want to make sure that you stick with that topic throughout the story. I mean, yeah, I'm glad, you know, this was interesting to know. I mean, you know, her immediate family includes her dad, brother, and sister. She had dreams of writing. Okay, I saw that in a lot of stories. Okay. You know, last name on second reference, she says she's a very complex person. But, you know, basically, I would like to just kind of know more about that. I would say that unique theme I just talked about. Okay. You know, how has this had any kind of impact in her life from top to bottom? Answer the questions: who, what, where, why, when. Okay. How. Okay. Any questions on that? Again, I know this is due today. Some people filed a little early, so I want to get a jump on that. Okay. All right. I mean, in digital media, especially, you really have to be kind of conscious of being specific. Okay. You got to be conscious, as I like to say. I'm not sure what that is. Certain words that kind of stick out. I mean, you can almost like hang your entire story on almost like a word or a phrase. Okay. And this is probably one of the most important things you can learn in digital journalism is the importance of keywords. Okay. Great handwriting, right? These are the words that actually probably are really connected to your theme of your story. Okay. And they're words that see the thing about digital media, okay? We used to say that it's really important in journalism to be published, the most important thing. Well, that is still true, okay? But actually, just as important now is to be seen, okay? So, and one way to get there is to make sure that you have the keywords that be the stuff that people would search for, okay? Whether it's a Google search or even something on social media, okay? People have been following, you know, sometimes when I bring up these cases, I say to myself, you know, there's a lot of missing people out there, and it's like, you know, they ignore all these cases and everything. But, you know, it is something that actually is trending on social media. We kept track of this case involving this Gabby Petito. Well, I guess she was a social media YouTuber or something like that, and she went across country and her boyfriend, fiance, something, and finally found her remains. I mean, depressed you in the day. But you know, last night, you know, I got a couple of breaking news alerts about it. It's happened. It's like, you just know, I mean, I instantly went to Twitter and then it was like up and down, Gabby, Gabby, Gabby. Just put in Gabby and then the name comes up. And all sorts of new information come in, okay? So that's the kind of thing that, you know, you want to be conscious of when you actually like look for a theme, for your story, you think to yourself, what would be like something that people would be interested in knowing, whether good, bad, or indifferent, you know? And well, that would actually help you pick out a theme. And you would maybe in this particular story, you know, maybe you would like try to think of words like what, immigration, okay? Or even the word she used, the Colombia and Dominican Republic and stuff. So you were Russian, hi Russian, it's fine now. Okay. So you want to like really find those words that really kind of would stick out, okay? Probably the best place to look for that, I gotta say, I mean, there's all different types, I get it, but there's Twitter, yeah, that's mine. Only because, I don't know, I called it up, why not? So, you see, oh my gosh, I have so much important things to say, you know? Yeah, there was this rally, you know, that, right, that was supposed to happen this past weekend. They had all this, there were like more reporters there than actual people or something. You know, I mean, I'm kind of like a regular guy on Twitter. I just kind of post things that I just see that pop up. You know, I'm a Met fan. I post things like that, you know. But, you know, these are the kinds of things that actually people will, you know, if I'm like everybody else, I'm probably interested in things like finding out about like Gabby Petito or the rally or that sort of thing. So these are things that typically are trending. And obviously, and I know you guys know this already, but then you look to the right, you see what is trending. You know, the Emmys were last night, so that's trending, right? This is actually now how essentially newsrooms work nowadays. Is actually, I used to just go up in front of a board and say, what are we going to write about today? Now they look at like the Twitter and trending and they say, this is what we're going to write about today. Okay. Usually like on Monday, it's something about football, you know, it's the game the night before. Like I said, Emmys, etc. Okay. Let's see, show more. What else is here? Of course, COVID-19, still a big deal, obviously. I don't know. Anybody watch the Emmys last night? Was there like anything that spectacular that happened? Yeah, right. That's okay. I didn't even know until it was like halfway done. Yeah, what was the thing with Conan O'Brien? Was he really?
Yeah.
Hey, let's check that out. It was actually over here before. So there we go. Anyway, not really. We have no sound. Hold on. Sorry. Why was he yelling at him? Why was he yelling at him? Just because, right?
Television has always been.
Oh, anyway, there you go. That's usually like, yeah. So that's what usually gets, you know, it's interesting. I tell people this, you know, again, in the old days, you know, we would just like put up a board and say, like, this is what we think is interesting, and then we, like 10 years ago, they invented this thing called Chartbeat, where it actually keeps track of how many people are actually looking at a site at one time, you know, all news organizations have this and stuff. And we suddenly discovered that, yeah, this is actually much more important than some, I don't know, councilman's bad real estate deal in Hackensack, New Jersey or something. People will actually really want to see this. So that really kind of changed news more than anything, I think, you know? That's why you have so many of these viral videos now and everything actually now make their way to the news platform. You know, that's what people want to read. So, but yeah, I found that entertaining. So, yeah, so Conan's a keyword today, okay? Let's look at the past week. What were some of the big issues this past week that maybe people might be looking for? You know, some of the news items. I mentioned Gabby Petito. You know, what else? Doesn't have to be serious. It could be like, you know, I know people my age, the one thing they were really searching a lot for was the comedian Norm Macdonald. You know, and yeah, I found myself watching all the clips. Anything else going on this past week? I mean, we got what do you think is like probably the big still #1 keyword of all? Like football. I'd probably say number 2 or 3 this morning, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think COVID's still the #1. Anything happened today? You guys, I don't know. Put you on the spot. There was actually some news made today. Did you see it? About COVID. I saw it came in at like freaking 6:30 in the morning. And yeah, it came on here, which is, you know, today I'm talking about like the delivery system. How do you actually get like this news to actually leap off the page? Well, one way is to have the right keywords that, again, that people can use to actually search on social media and Google and everything. But also, you have those keywords that help you with things like breaking news alerts, okay? So when I got into work today, I was half dead myself, and I actually was just like, wow. And right off the bat, I got low dose of Pfizer BioNTech vaccine is safe and effective for children ages 5 to 11. Key study finds a key step toward approval. So, yes, COVID is still very much in the news. Then News 12, Pfizer announced that COVID-19 vaccine is safe in children as young as 5. Okay. Who do you think's like very much interested in that? Who's like the primary readership for that story, you think? Yeah, obviously, right? I mean, I know I say we should write like fourth graders, right? Because that's actually what you want to do. You want to write actually your news so that like everybody can understand all age groups, levels, whatever, intelligence, whatever. But yes, parents, they want to know, you know. A lot of parents, let's admit it, they're probably hesitant right now to actually have their kids do it. We've seen the lowest percentage of vaccination is actually, I think it's like ages 12 to 18 or something, 12 to 19. So, but what are the keywords in that statement right there? Pfizer announced COVID vaccine is safe in children as young as 5. We know COVID is a keyword. What's another word that people could be searching for in there? Yeah, safe, yeah. But probably even bigger than that. What do you think? Pfizer announced its COVID vaccine is safe in children as young as 5. Yeah, or children, right? Yeah. That's a big thing right now. I mean, that's what's keeping masks on in schools. You know, well, Rutgers has been kind of, I would say, it's not criticism at all, okay? They've been more protective than other schools, you know? So, as you probably know. My kid went to Boston University last year, was actually on campus, you know? So Rutgers is kind of going through everything that Boston did last year, you know? But I mean, they actually announced at one point that kids in New Jersey were going maskless, you know? But then Delta happened and the governor reversed that. And one of the big reasons why is this, you know, is that kids between the ages of, you know, 5 and 11 are not vaccinated. So that's actually what helps shape news each day. So I would probably look at that and say, like, okay, like what kind of, you know, if I was actually like back in days when I was working at Passion and everything, I'd probably try to shape my news coverage around that, keeping those words in mind. Those two especially, COVID and children. COVID in children and the age. Okay. Who would I want to interview, you think, if I was Patch, I was local, if I wanted to interview like school districts, right? Maybe do the people on the street interviews, parents, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right. So that is like, that was really like the first step to really truly identifying and trying to make your story specific and wrapped around a theme is to understand like what are the important keywords we're looking for. What are the keywords here that are unique, but maybe not, that identify something unique about the person, but also maybe are connected to a trending topic. And like with this example right here, before I said, what makes, Brianna unique. Brianna here, no, I'm not sure she can walk in. What makes Brianna unique is she comes from here, but it's actually connected to a trending topic, which is immigration problems. Okay. All right. All right. Just 1 second here. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? Or I'm giving you a lot of kind of general stuff here. Kind of like in like what sort of things to look for. There's a thing again that will really differentiate what you've been probably doing from writing for media again is being specific and narrow and really kind of like concise and succinct in your writing. Okay. Here's the New York Times today. Did you guys, when you were writing for me, did you do feature writing? Actually, when I talked to the other section, section 2 the other day, I actually got, and I understand this, I got a couple people who said, what's feature writing? You know what feature writing is? What's the difference between what they call hard news or feature writing? Don't, it's fine. I was asked this question at PATS the other day. Sorry, Best Review the other day. It's actually Best Review still writes features. It's a magazine, right? So I said to them that they don't really teach this so much anymore. I have so many different people coming out and writing for media, and they don't actually even talk about feature writing. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Feature writing basically is probably another way of describing it is probably writing wrong. Okay. A lot of people, especially like the old timers and everything, say it's a lost art. That's essentially the kind of writing you see like in magazines. Okay. And actually you'll see it. There's still places that still do it, like the New York Times. And actually I saw an example today, this one right here. Actually, when I first saw it, I thought it was actually like a typical hard news breaking news story. But actually it's a story that, it's usually very illustrative because it has big pictures and videos and everything. But what it does is it actually takes a longer time to get there. Now, why am I showing you this? Because I just told you writing as digital media is typically succinct. I'm trying to show the contrast, like where things have gone, essentially, okay? And a lot more writing used to be about like this, and the breaking news I showed you today about COVID vaccines and kids. And if you read the story, like, typically like the first paragraph doesn't actually tell you what the story is about. What it does is it works more, another way, the goal of this is called writing to be read, okay? The digital media is actually typically for people who just want to read fast and get out of it, right? Like Twitter, right? Just want to get your headlines and you're done, right? But this actually is for people who have time. How many people have time? Right? You have time? I don't. This is people for, let's face it, this is for people who are 85. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, not really. Anyway, so when you read this, it says a taut line of soldiers crossed the sprawling army post parade ground in the afternoon, hoisting flags draped with a rainbow of streamers on past deployments. It's almost like a run-on sentence, but it's a nice, colorful setup. Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, Korea, Germany, etc. Present color as a sergeant yelled. See, it's actually suspenseful. It's kind of leaving you hanging. It gets you reading. As you keep going through there. It doesn't really actually tell you what the story is about until about here. Because what it does is it talks about, hey, we're still in it. basically the theme of the story is, hey, we're still in Iraq. Did you know that? I didn't really know that. Actually, we're still in Iraq. Yeah. So that's what this story is about. But there's really nothing like breaking about it because it's been going on forever. It's just that maybe you didn't really know about it. All the breaking news lately is about Afghanistan. Okay. Says, though the mission may have dropped from public attention, the United States still has boots on the ground in the other nation it invaded in the wake of 9/11. 2,500 troops are in Iraq now. The embers of what was once a scorching device of war now carefully scattered to protect a few strategic bases. Okay, God, are they going to have like a? Are they going to leave there too now? We're going to have like all. Oh God. So anyway, this is what they call the nut graph. Okay. What digital media does essentially is it basically typically there's still obviously a lot of feature stories that you see in the New York Times. What essentially digital media does, it takes this part out of the story, the part I just highlighted, and it gets right to that, okay? Right to the meat, okay? What's like I just defined what a keyword is. What's some obvious keywords for this story, do you think? I think of two right off the bat. Well, and is, what's a word people would be searching for? Like I was curious. Iraq. Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you. 9/11. Yeah, that's a good one because it just happened and maybe people are still curious and these are the words people might think. Actually, I was curious myself. I was like, are we still in Iraq? I thought maybe we had pulled out of there, But if it was like after 9/11 or something, I probably would say like, are we still in Iraq? And search for it, I put it in the search engine of Twitter, the search engine of Facebook, Google, Instagram, etc. Right? So, all right. So there's been a de-emphasis on that kind of writing, and you can see there's a de-emphasis to the point that it's actually like way down here. Okay. A lot of stories on Norm Macdonald this past week. My God, everybody know who he is? He was a comedian. Actually, been a little surprised. Yeah, he was the. It's funny. It was like, I don't know. I know he's a controversial comedian, and he's said things that have got him in trouble and everything. And there's many times I found him entertaining. And there was, but back in the '90s, though, God, he was almost like cast aside entirely. It was almost the whole thing with, I hate that term, cancel culture. He was canceled. He was basically canceled in the '90s because, and I put quotes around that, okay. But that was the OJ decade, and he was the guy who did the Weekend Update. Who does it now? Colin Jost, I think, is that his name? Yeah, and I think McDonald didn't really fit the kind of SNL kind of politics. He was on that staff. He was on that group with Adam Sandler and Chris Farley, people like that, And so he was actually like busting OJ like every single freaking day when OJ was convicted. A lot of people remember this from that era. They say the first thing he did when he got on SNL, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen," I think he said, "it's now official. Murder is now legal in the state of California." I don't know where you come down on the OJ thing, but I'm just telling you that's what he said, and a lot of people remember it. And allegedly, he got fired because of that, because the guy who fired him was friends with OJ. Anyway. So, but he's kind of survived. He was like, did a lot of guest appearances. He made a lot of controversial guest appearances. And anyway, so that's something that still apparently is trending as a subject, is him. Okay. But number one here, right off the bat, we got COVID vaccine prompts strong immune response in younger children. So basically now, at a time you would actually see probably like maybe 10, 15 years ago, the feature stories would probably be like sharing space with these breaking news stories up here. Now they're pretty much all just breaking news at the top, okay? It's all about being short, concise, and to the point, and keywords, okay? COVID, FDA, these are keywords. Biden, okay? See this right here? What's this about? What's the big keyword here? COVID, okay? It's actually some good news here. Look at this, 12%. I mean, I know, good news, right? But I'm trying to be positive here, okay? But we have actually seen maybe a leveling off of this. God help us. All right. You know. Anyway, and of course, this is good news too, I think. So let's call it up. Now, the New York Times will get like a little bit longer in their writing style. Okay, so I don't always like to use them as an example, but you know, why not? You know, it says the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine has been shown to be safe and highly effective. Who said safe? That was a good word. In young children aged 5 to 11, the company's announced. This really could almost be like 2 different paragraphs. The news should ease, somebody said parents, should help ease months of anxiety among parents and teachers. Another keyword, okay? About when children and their close contacts. Another term that's used a lot in digital media is tentacles, okay? You basically look at like that main subject and what words are actually not just like connected to the main word, but okay, let me rephrase that. You don't just look at the main word, but you look at the words that are connected to it, okay? So you have like COVID vaccine, and what's connected to it? Parents, teachers, ages 5 to 11, children, okay? All right. And it also helps you basically also develop the story too, because you know what words to look for, what subjects to dig into, okay? All right. All right. Anybody have any questions about anything so far? Okay. All right. All right. So basically, like as I asked you guys to do, is to basically kind of look through, you know, this is as a guide. If you want to, you can actually use this as, you know, like a general topics you're looking at each week. We're basically still in the digital basics phase. And again, like there's probably no better platform to kind of show that kind of digital media experience than Twitter. So I have like a couple of examples that are not just always like, you know, the ones that are trending, but you know, whenever there's like some sort of an incident or something like that, people might hear about like what happened in that town. So, you know, I guess a couple of years ago, there was this big collapse I put up here. So people, as you see, like the bold is like what I searched for was wild. Sometimes, you know, it's actually, there's actually like kind of an old fashioned media thing that goes into, you know, developing stories and developing things like tweets. And that is, hey, I heard about something happening in Wildwood, you know, and that's what they search for. And this is what they come up with. Okay. So part of what I want to show, what I want to show is how did we get here? Okay. How do we get to this point where like news is supposed to go from like this to like this? Okay. Well, you know, long ago, they didn't really write to be read. Okay. They actually almost like worked very hard so people couldn't read it. Almost a little too hard. Okay. I mean, would you believe, has everybody seen the movie Titanic? My 15-year-old, you know, she thinks Leo is cute. So, and she saw Wolf of Wall Street the other day. You know, so personally, I preferred Wolf of Wall Street. But anyway, can you believe this was the lead, the first paragraph for the Titanic sinking? Look at this thing. Look at this piece of shit. Excuse me. No, look at this. The White Star Liner Olympic reports. It's almost like you have to be like Shakespearean when you talk, you know. By wireless this evening that the Cunarder Carpathia reached at daybreak this morning the position from which, that's Shakespearean, wireless calls for help were sent. All this passive writing, you know? They sent calls, they called. Last night by the Titanic. Harder? Yeah, her collision, after her collision with an iceberg. I mean, I can't even like say that. I mean, it's not conversational at all. It's like, I mean, at the time, I mean, the whole thing with like writing in 1912 and beyond was that they kind of didn't really, it was kind of almost like an elitist kind of approach to newspapering, okay? And that was that they didn't really like, they took into account that a lot of people didn't know how to read, okay? And they kind of like catered to audiences that really kind of like, again, were kind of like the wealthier, richer, that sort of thing. But also, I mean, giving them the benefit of the doubt, a lot of this stuff probably came out by Morse code. So they were literally, it wasn't just necessarily a stuffiness or elitism about it. They were actually just kind of sloppy, you know, they were just, and they were being quick. I mean, as soon as the Morse code stuff came in, they wrote it down, you know, and just put it out there, okay? But they didn't like really work hard at kind of hooking you in. Yes, there was a headline, you know, that sort of thing, but you know, it didn't really kind of give you the who, what, where, why, you know, it didn't even tell you what happened, which is the most important fact, okay? The Carpathia found only the lifeboats and the wreckage of what had been the biggest steamship afloat. Okay, we still don't know what the hell happened, right? This is so, the Titanic had foundered. Oh, I guess it sunk at about 2:20 a.m. in latitude 40. Latitude, like somebody's going to say, like, oh yeah, I know where that is. You know? I mean, now they would say what? Near Iceland, right? So what happened was the newspaper, the journalism people, they kind of said, you know, what happened was they were like, oh, we can do this. And they kind of like coasted through the years, and they still kind of coast in some ways. But the old digital media, the first digital media, really, new medium that really kind of gave them, not just gave room for money, but basically took over was television. Okay. And that's when you realize is something that, yes, you know what mattered? You know, presentation matters, delivery matters, okay? And we have to adapt. Not only do we have to adapt, we have to do better. Because people still read news stories. To this day, they still read news stories, right? You all read news stories, right? You know, and you know, and a lot of times you don't just read the headline or the first paragraph. You read maybe the next few. Because to this day, news organizations, print media, okay, can still do something that others can't do, okay? And they can provide depth, okay? It's just the delivery has changed. The delivery has changed to become more succinct and more direct, and things like words matter, okay? Keywords matter. What is probably the most obvious keyword in this story? Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said obvious. That was probably not. I'm sorry. Well, I wouldn't say that. But what do you think it is? Titanic is the keyword. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have just said, what do you think the keyword is? Okay. Yeah, I mean, Titanic. I mean, this was the thing that was bragged about ahead of time. Everybody knew about it. They were looking forward to this, you know. Kind of like with the SpaceX going up again, is that going up again or something? Elon Musk, right? You know, people are probably searching for that, know what's going to happen, the whole thing. If they had internet at the time, they'd be like, how's the Titanic doing? You know, well, it foundered, you know. So there wasn't really, I mean, you don't even really like, I think, see the word Titanic until way down here. It really should be like here in the first couple words. Think of the first word. The Titanic sunk. That's it, you know. But TV kind of like found a way to present that and deliver that in a way that people could connect to, and on every age level, intelligence level, everything else. That's when print media said, "Oh shit, we better do something about that." So in 1969, I know I always have a hard time actually like presenting this one, but So sorry about that. I don't know if you can read that, but that says men, I know men, I should say humans, right? People, men have landed and walked on the moon. You really need to say anything else? I mean, think about it. It never happened before. You know, and if they could see the future, they would find out that it would only happen like what, 10 more times, and then they wouldn't do it anymore. You know, so it's such a rare thing. It's happened like what, 6 or 7 times, and that's it. You know, and it happened all between 1969 and 1972. So you really need to say anything more? You know? What's the key word there? I know it's almost moon. You know, probably walk is like maybe second walk. Then I know. Maybe they should have said astronauts, and they should have said people. They should have. Okay. All right. And then it says 2 Americans. That's an important word because it was America first. My friend has told me about Apple TV has this TV show now where have you heard about this? Where they basically talk about what life would be like if the Soviets had landed on the moon first. Like a lot of probably would have changed. So that was really significant in terms of the Cold War. It was an Americans actually the first ones to do it. You know, that they won the space race. It's a big thing back then. I'm not old enough to remember it, so this is what I've been told. Okay. Neil Armstrong, who did it? You know, it's who, what, where, how, why, when. The other guy, Aldrin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right. So now we've actually now with the internet and everything, it's all become much even faster delivery system. So it's all about trying to get right to the point, okay? And identifying what keywords will people look for, search for, whatever. I mean, if it's a story about a Rutgers student, you know, obviously they're going to search for maybe something like Rutgers, you know, but they want to know a little bit more about the person, you know. And that's what I'm going to ask you guys to do for your first graded assignment. And actually, I've already posted it. And so you're not confused. You'll see that actually I have basically the same assignment posted for section 2, which is the Thursday class, but this is the section for you. This is the entry for you guys, okay? And where are we here? I'm sorry. This is actually, I should be in the student view. There we go. Okay, so it's right here, okay? You'll see first assignment, profile of your neighbor in class, and that's what we're going to do for the rest of the class, okay? All right, and it says, please write a story on your neighbor in class, okay? Please keep the 500 words and focus on what's unique about the person and what's new. Please think of a lead that resemble a breaking news alert on your phone. So basically like those, I mean, I know it's not necessarily a breaking news story, okay? But think about like that lead I just showed you before with the COVID vaccine. You want to think that's how they typically would write these alerts on your phone. And sometimes they're not always breaking news things. Sometimes they just want to, these news organizations just want to show you a story that you might be interested in, okay? So they'll send it out an alert to your phone, okay? And you want to think about, well, what do I want to tell people, like right in that one sentence and that's it, you know? Something they were reading like while they're on the train or something like that, you know? Or right before class starts or something like that, okay? And please write the story. And then like, I want you to kind of stick to a basic outline that I always stick to, and that is again, having a simple lead. With each paragraph, it's like 1 or 2 sentences and basically just kind of sticking with the theme that you started with at the top. And then keep answering those who, what, where, why, when questions, and why is it unique? Why is it unique, okay? And then, I mean, we're gonna get into this more next week, but I also, this is more of the digital media aspect here, and that is, please take a photo of your subject, okay? We'll talk more about that next week. You can probably hold off doing that today if you want, but we'll talk more about what to do with that next week, okay? How about we do that? We could right now. You know, I don't know if I have any number or not. Let's see. Can you two together? Okay. And then okay. You guys have issues with that? Let me know. It's fine. Yeah. Because I know it's like we're still kind of getting used to this whole idea of being together. So, all right. What I'll do is I'll check up with you guys. You know, maybe in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. See how you're doing. And again, when you're interviewing the person, try to think about what's the keyword, okay? what's the word that really kind of sticks out? What you want to do is, as you're going through the interview, you want to like basically, once you kind of get an idea, what they call reporter radar, you basically think to yourself, okay, this is the thing I want to stick with. And then you want to basically, you want to pivot your interview in that direction and try to get as much depth as possible on that theme, okay? All right, so let's do that if we could, please. And then, like I said, I'll check up with you guys 10, 15 minutes. Okay? Thanks very much.
Well,
What's the deal with the,
Oh my God. I'm gonna do this now.
Yeah.
I can understand.
But,
But,
she's kind of just talking in words.
yeah. That is really interesting.
She didn't think it was that
Wow, I
interesting.
thought.
And then I was gonna do like how.
You go get anything of the keywords. Good. That's what I'm trying to wait. You know, even before you got the COVID on the pharmacy, this is something I thought that actually was interesting. You know, like when I first started teaching here 17 years ago, I would ask people, how do you get to work? You know, and like probably like 2 out of 20. Now, so to me, that's an interesting story. You know, work and work here at the same time. I think it's actually like an inspiration for you. And you had the COVID. That's like you're balancing like 5 different things. Working in a place, you know, there's probably no place that I hated being in. Pharmacy. Yeah, because you're in the line and people in their minds. I don't mean to put pressure on you. So I'm just saying that, like, I think that is actually. Also, you know, strong stuff too. So much change and everything, scheduling and all that stuff. Are you guys like fully back at this?
We are now, but last year, like, technically, we saw the season last year.
Yeah. But now it's not sitting on as much.
Now it's not, it's so different at all. We don't have. We're allowed to like gas stations or something like that.
Maybe you want to think about that. You want to think about, hey, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I think you guys have. Yeah. It's good to think of that one subject.
Okay. Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's so terrible.
Um, I have an app interview at 11. So this is RIMS management, risk management. So yeah, I have that. And yeah, I have the Safe to Work app in News Engine. You know, we have the other DNI stuff. So yes, and then actually we have a preview that's supposed to be coming. Yeah, Jody showed me the she showed me the devs. So let me make sure that that's on track. What did I pick? Let's see here. Actually, it should be in devs. Let's see. It's oh, I have the DNO market on Stormy Course. So I want to I'm kind of waiting till, like, I was thinking that maybe Terry's story would be a good one to lead, like right before we you know, do the October issue, because you know it'll get buried once the October issue, not buried, but it won't be at the top when the October issue. So, but that would be a good one to highlight, and maybe even the photo essay, you know. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So yep. That's right.
I'm like, yeah,
I just kept talking through it.
more like
Oh, there you go.
something like that, yeah.
What's the, what's the?
He's damn it, he wants to be a bad at create programs to help sports teams, sports guys that are really get the points.
So this is actually interesting to do.
Really?
Internship would be at ESPN, but you know. Yeah.
I think that is actually a good topic. What's interesting there is that actually your background actually. And actually. How about you?
We talked about, yeah, I've been in plays professionally, voice acting, the rest of like, Marshall Jones, here, and, you know, Brandon Ford.
You need a kind of level of experience already, that's actually. That is. That's great.
As long as I got high. Yeah.
I'm Jackson.
That's like.
Yeah, Jackson, sorry.
I was a year left, like my first day.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not gonna be here next week. I have a year.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Good cut, Jackson.
8 or 9.
Like a whole bunch of those things.
It's a lot. But it's
Very fun. Yeah. You know, when you get like kind of level of experience like he's had, I would say that's actually.
I told my dad.
Yeah.
He's on kind of.
So,
No, it's interesting.
right.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm. Yeah, I like. I literally was like, saying, I was like introducing yourself. I thought this is about me, and I'm like, all I did was talk about my life. That's what I mean. Yeah, I feel like, see, every time like, I know, and show my work right away. And I'm just like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm feeling like, yeah, right. I can take a nap, like I can take a nap, or like salary. No, see, with mine, like, so I'm on some. Oh, yeah, I should be seeing that. Sundays. I just sit down. Like, I try. But I need everybody.
Like, there should be something like that. And like, maybe it's all one. So many good, but anything, it would probably be great.
something else that like.
Let me do all one. Yeah, but like, I've never.
What you saying about you? So travel. She was like, "It's okay." I don't know, like, kind of put on the spot for that, you know? Maybe that's, what might be interesting there is, I mean, 'cause sometimes like this kind of traveling. But maybe like there's something there about, you know, this is something you must be doing, you want to become a watcher. You wants to inspire or something. About, saying my daughter about it, so she's freaking out. She's like, I don't know, she has these ideas, I don't know, you know, I don't know, but she thinks there's some sort of student. Something there, Justin would go on the records, right?
I know.
So, yeah, it was. So she had nothing to worry about. I told her you should. I told her like 30 years ago, it was like. That could be something there, all adjustment to it and everything, and records, you know, records. So it's run wild, you know, so. All right, getting a little early today, if you like, every attention. Good job. So you guys have got some nice- hang on, that's good, so, make sure you got everybody's like email address or contact information. Because, you know, we might want to write this and the assignments posted and, you know, have an opportunity to rewrite, you know, so you want to make sure like if there's additional question. And thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. Okay. And, let me know if you need anything, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
56.